What's going on? How y'all doing? So that white woman who raised over $500,000 for hurling uh, the N word at that young black boy was artistic, by the way. I hope RFK Jr. sees that. Um, and interestingly, I've been reading comments through the internet, and a lot of white people are trying to distance themselves or say they're not like that. So did that woman hurling that N word at that boy? What did it make me think about? White America. Growing up, as is most of my adult life, I'd say over 75%, 80% are racist. Um, People are going to disagree with that. They may not like that, but that's just the way it is. Because you are either inherently, there's a Dr. King quote from 1967, which he said that, and I agree with him. They never tell you that what he said because he had changed a lot of his philosophies in the last year of his life because things had just gotten to a boil. I say this all the time because if you go into that booth and you voted for someone like Trump, especially for what he's about and his agenda, if you look at entertainment and then you think about how many black people have a say in Hollywood, say in the music business, what they promote, what is getting pushed, the only way you can make it as a career, um, a lot of that stuff. Now, I said this a long time ago, and I'm going to bring him into it because ironically, he's from that state. I didn't go for Prince putting slave on his face, but I understand what he was saying about that industry. I get it. I get it. And unlike Purple Rain, this episodes that keep coming out that state, it ain't that euphoria. Anyway, um, this is just a reminder of people smiling in your face and saying this, but their racist venom comes out. And before someone says she had a black boyfriend or association in her past life, so did slave owners. What you want, you know? How many black folks have the last name Jackson, Jefferson, Lincoln, etc. Even that Hamilton, all that stuff is tied to it. You can romanticize it. You can try to make it look good. But to me, you got to signify what you is. You really do. Because there is always an inherent entitlement. This is an entitlement right here. She reps a lot of the women that voted for Trump, as far as I'm concerned. And this angle and this kind of behavior is tied to that kind of rhetoric because there's a lot of that MAGA and a lot of that kind of attitude that was been, it depends on what you grew up seeing, what your experiences is like. I saw things. I didn't heard things. I've been around things. People always trying to downplay and say, well, that's just how they were and they old and all that. But what about this woman? She ain't 35. She ain't 30. To come out and be with that kind of demeanor, she ain't no old woman. She ain't no even close to middle age. So when you what's your excuse for that? 5-year-old black boy artistic, and you get a Jerry Lewis telethon. I ain't seen a telethon booth hit that in the day since I used to watch some Jerry Lewis telethons. And you gonna tell me, no, that's just running to your privilege. That's running to the plantation, throwing your hands up, saying, "Oh, gotta do something because they are they're this, and that, and then reward me." That's how it's always been. She's actually a metaphor for white America, how things have been obtained. Exactly. Exactly. Overblow, don't tell the truth. It's just like Carolyn Bryant with Emmett Till. And think about it. Not the same results, but the same connotation. White woman overblows stuff and gets rewarded. Gets rewarded for that. And it's to signify. Now, I'm going to say this. Not all. But I say good 90%. I think white America, I feel, racist and divisive. Because you just look at how the entitlement is. And you obviously don't see nothing shared. There's a mental denial about institutionalized systematic racism. And anybody would take the time to get this woman a dime. They should be having CPS in there to take the kid out of there. That's what they should be doing. And send her to a shrink, get some help. But sadly, in 2025, it's no different than 1925. Sadly, you can use your privilege and who you are and say those things, and people feel just to reward you. And it's just like, because you know, and it ain't just who's in the White House, but that don't help. That doesn't exactly hurt the situation, especially with Elon Musk and all that. You see what the agenda's about. You see the kind of conversations and how people act, and they go, well, we're not like this. Well, then what are you? What are you? Because it's not human behavior. That's more alien than what they put on to see if you're a citizen or not. That's really the aliens. That kind of hate. Anyway, please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another shitter if you like. Hit the membership. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time and very heated. Peace.